Hi, everyone. We are just giving it another minute before we kick off today's session. All right, I think we can kick today's session off. Let me just get everything ready on my side. All right. Welcome everybody to today's Tech Day. My name is Yolandi Klute and I am the platform specialist at Teraco. We are joined today by Zeev Hoffman, who is from Orca Security, and we will be looking from the traditional data center to the cloud and why the security overview of what we will be covering us through overview of who they are, what they do, and how they do it. And thereafter, we will be going into a technical demo to see how we can secure our cloud environments. Just a quick navigation refresher, if I can put it that way. If you have any questions for Zeev, you're more than welcome to post those in the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen. You're also welcome if you just want to say hi, but mainly please. And that is about it. So I will be giving over to Zeev, and we will then be kicking off today's session. Over to you, Zeev.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Just a quick confirmation that you can hear me, correct? Okay. Hi, hello, good morning. Just to confirm that you can hear me, Yolandi?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to be here and excited to be here, and thank you for joining to this session. My name is Zeev Hoffman, and I have been working at Orca Security for the past 3 years, managing the sales and the business. During this time, I had the chance to meet with multiple customers with several levels of cloud adaptation, customers that just diverting into the cloud, customers that have a hybrid cloud, on-prem and also public, and also customers that burn and existing just in the cloud. And I understand the complexity of how to secure the cloud infrastructure, the pains that the customer have. And today I would like to take you to a very interesting journey of the evaluation of the cloud security, how it starts, what are the traditional security solutions on the cloud that we have today, and why they are not enough sufficient for in our current world, and how Orca, with the unique cloud security approach, can mitigate those risks and define a new approach to a cloud security. As a general agenda, we will start with 20 minutes of presentation, and then I will move to a live demo to show you how the new approach of Orca security works and how we are identifying the risk and how we are approaching to the cloud security. As Yolandi mentioned, if you have any question, please feel free to put it in the chat. I will try to answer to most of the question. I will not succeed, I will make sure to answer you in the mail. So I hope it will be interesting for you. So let's start. Okay, so the cloud evaluation and the cloud evaluation during the years starting around 2010, when the virtual machines start to take a majority place on the traditional data centers. In 2010, there were a new approach to secure the virtual machine, and it's called the CWPP, the Cloud Workload Protection. The cloud workload protection is a workload-centric security solution that addresses the unique requirements of server workload protection in the modern hybrid data center architecture. So once the virtual machine come very handy to customers and present a majority of the cloud of their data centers, the CWPP, the cloud workload protection, is the solution that's supposed to protect the virtual machines in vice versa of architecture. It can be on the hybrid architecture, public cloud, and also data centers, regular data centers, or physical device. Those cloud workload protection approach is an agent approach, meaning that agent software is supposed to run on the physical or the virtual server itself in order to identify risk mainly on the vulnerability and the vulnerability and the malware part. When we progress with the evaluation of the cloud and start working with containers around between 2010 to 2014, the public cloud and also the on-prem environment with a hypervisor environment start to be very, very flexible. Containers and automation start to run on the infrastructure of the customers and create another challenge for the customers. So not just to protecting the virtual machine, also to try to protect and identify misconfiguration, especially on the public cloud, configure correct identity and policy for customers. So the security itself start to be very, very challenging with more aspects that related to the environment and the infrastructure and not just specifically to the virtual machine. When the containers start to involve and to run together with the virtual machine, in 2014, there were additional solutions that came to the market that marked as a CSPM. This is the marketing segment. It's called the Cloud Security Posture Management. And the Cloud Security Posture Management designed to identify mainly misconfiguration, compliance risks, and of course, visibility into the cloud infrastructure. Together with the CSPM and the CWPP, the Cloud Workload Protection, this was the first cloud security approach that used mainly with agents that run on the virtual machines, on the containers, and apart from that, this Cloud Security Posture Management that was supposed to be responsible to identify human error, misconfiguration, and more. When we are heading back in the timeline, we can see that between 2014 to 2018, the cloud infrastructure were involved significantly with several services that the cloud provider provide. For example, platform as a service, identifier, and more services. And it became also a focal point for many departments in the organization to connect and run into the cloud, create more and more services, and to run the business very, very fast with the fact that the cloud is very, very flexible. And in around 2018, there were additional solution that came to assist. It is the CIEM, the Cloud Infrastructure Entitlement Management, that supposed to run inside of the cloud environment and try to identify and monitoring a cloud infrastructure, cloud identity, policy, to create correct policy and identity, together with the cloud security posture management that's responsible on the misconfiguration part, and the CWPP, the workload protection, that's supposed to protect the virtual machine and the physical server. Both the three of those segments came directly into the cloud as a solution that supposed to cover the majority of the risk inside of the cloud. And in 2020, the whole thinking of cloud security, and thanks to the fact that it was quite involved and many customers moved into the public cloud, there were additional segments that called the CNAPP, the Cloud Native Application Platform. And in the Cloud Native Application Platform, the approach was to see how we combine three of those segments that we just mentioned, the CIEM, CSPM, and CWPP, into one consolidated solution that will provide end-to-end cloud security solution for the customer. If you can see below, you see also the evaluation of the solution itself. You can see that scanners and also agent was the common approach on the cloud security, and till today there are many CNAPP solutions that are using agent approach as scanner approach in order to try to complete a full coverage on the cloud asset. So we discussed about the timeline. Let's see the evaluation and how it happens. So as I mentioned, agents that was responsible for running inside of the host in order to provide a full visibility, operation system, application security inside of the workload itself. Together with the agent, also the scanners coming very handy, that resident in the network in order to scan application and scan gap and misconfiguration, mainly on the on-prem data center. And both of those solutions, when the cloud starting to be involved more and more in a customer's environment, the CSPM, the Cloud Security Posture Management, that's responsible for the misconfiguration and residence mainly in the cloud itself, came to be very handy. And with three of those approach, there were a solution that's supposed to protect on the cloud, using, of course, the agent, the scanners, and the cloud security, the cloud security posture management. If you can see here, and from the timeline, you see that the cloud security solution was involved from the regular conservative solutions on-prem and just divert into the cloud. So except from CSPM, that is a new solution just for misconfiguration on the cloud, the scanners and the agent were there also on the on-prem environment, and the CSPM was the evaluation just for the cloud in order to protect from misconfiguration and human error. But there were a lot of challenges using those solutions, especially on the cloud infrastructure. The main two challenges that we observe and we can see from many customers, the first issue is that agent doesn't scale in the cloud. And what is the main reason that agent doesn't scale in the cloud? The whole purpose of the cloud is to create a flexibility and endless growth to the customer. You can connect multiple organizations, multiple departments to work in parallel in the cloud, to onboard services, to remove services, to onboard databases, and to sustain the business as much as they can. And the problem number one is the fact that in the cloud itself, you have several instance types, servers type. It can be virtual machine, it can be serverless, platform as a service, EKS, many services that involve into the cloud. And the main problem with the agent that they are not always support all of the type of the asset. It means that you will have a lot of gray area that the agent does not cover. And additionally, the cloud is very flexible. It can grow significantly and also can reduce the number, can be very flexible around the operation time. And to maintain agent, to be a full coverage, to distribute the agent inside of the cloud wasn't sufficient. And this was the main challenge that we identify here at Orca when working with customer. The second problem, and also very challenging, is the alert overflow. Alert overflow is the main reason to not go to the right risk. So in the conservative solutions today that involve agents, scanners, and the CSPM, we discovered that there is a lot of alert overload. The prioritization of the alert itself and the severity score of the alert was a bit incorrect, and I will explain, of course, what are the reasons, but the results itself was that the customers suffer from a phenomenon that called alert fatigue, that receiving multiple alerts in one time, and very hard to distinguish between the main and the important alerts and the one that are not so important in the cloud itself. We see that for every 100 assets, there are around average of 10,000 alerts in average for other security tools that involve agent and scanners. And the alert fatigue is one of the main reasons to miss important risks that existing in the cloud, because the less of prioritization is coming to be a very high challenge in those cases. There is a nice example that shows exactly how the agent approach can cause through an alert fatigue. And this is a really good example in that case. What we are seeing here, actually, we see a typical cloud environment, and we can see that there are two servers here, EC2 servers, that both of them are being identified with a vulnerability. In that case, it's Apache vulnerability. We can see that the CVE of the vulnerability, and this specific vulnerability has a very high score, meaning that this specific vulnerability can be exploitable and very, very risky. So the agent approach that running inside of those servers will identify this specific vulnerability, and because of this high score, the CVS score of this specific vulnerability, it will raise the same type of risk of risk severity for both of these servers. So the customer itself will get an alert and high risky alert for both of the server, and they need to approach to both of them in the same manner. Okay. Now, I will continue to discuss about the new approach of Orca, and then I will present again how Orca is approaching to this specific challenge. But we can see here what is actually causing to the alert fatigue. The fact that the agent itself that's running inside of the server see the vulnerability or the risk and identify and measure the severity of the risk just according to a databases or just according to the CVS score, and not rely on the total infrastructure of the customer, can cause to alert fatigue and can increase the number of critical alerts that the customer need to approach. And this example showed that a very nice way. So we discuss about the evaluation of the cloud security, the tools that we currently have today, and the segment type of each tool. And we also see the problem. And from all of these challenges and the solution, we can come up with the 4 main principles that need to be approached in order to create a consolidated cloud security solution that will fetch the correct risk and will give to the customer the necessary security value that he needs in the cloud. Those 4 principles are the first one is a full coverage. As we discussed about the agent that is not covered all of the cloud environment, it's necessary that the solution will provide a full coverage, 100% visibility of your total cloud asset. The second principle that have to be exist is the comprehensive one. In the evaluation of the cloud, you see that we have more than one security solution. We have the CWPP, the agent-based, the workload protection. We have the scanners. We also have the CSPM, the Cloud Security Posture Management, and working with 3 or 4 different security tools can be very hectic. So the comprehensive part is the fact that we need to consolidate all of the tools to one specific pane of glass. So the customer will be able, so you will be able to monitoring the entire cloud infrastructure and risk and visibility with one specific tool that consolidate all of the tools that's supposed to be inside of the cloud. The third principle is the context part. And the context part is very, very critical in order to create the correct severity of each alert. If you remember the last slide that I present with the vulnerability part, that just rely on the vulnerability score in order to create the necessary risk. So the context is very, very critical in order to understand that the risk itself, it's not living alone in a vacuum. The risk itself is also a result of the infrastructure. And if we will know the context and we know the infrastructure, we can provide a correct severity and reduce the alert fatigue. And the last thing that is quite straightforward is consumable. The platform on the cloud security platform is supposed to be consumable, not just for the DevOps team and the technical team, also for the management, to understand the security posture that they have, to understand in high level what are the things that they need to focus first and to need to mitigate first, and it need to be consumable in order that it will be easy for them to understand in high level how the cloud infrastructure is function. So based on those 4 principles, Orca Security raised in order to approach to those principles and create a unique cloud security platform. So let's talk about Orca and how we approach to those 4 principles in a very unique way. So quickly about Orca Security. Orca Security founded in 2019 by 8 co-founders that came from several leading vendors in the market, Checkpoint, Palo Alto. The majority of them was in Unit 8200, the intelligent unit in Israel. The company founded in 2019 and grows significantly into those few years that we are existing in the market, with several awards that we receive also from Gartner and from the cloud provider. And of course, a lot of investors that invest the company itself. We currently have around 450 employees worldwide. We have a nice representative also in South Africa and Africa as well, like other countries. And what is Orca? So Orca is a cloud security solution, is evaluation of the CNAPP, if you remember, that provide an agentless scanning that gives a full coverage on your cloud infrastructure without the need to install any agent in the process. We invented a very unique method that's called the SideScan. It's a registered patent at Orca. We will, of course, reveal how the method is working on the cloud. Orca identify and address and prioritize the majority of the cloud risk in one solution. This is answer the point number 2 of the comprehensive part. Orca combine not just dedicated cloud security, Orca also combined a very vast security on the developer side. So the Orca point of view solution is not just to fetch the risk 100% coverage on the cloud infrastructure, also to try to identify those risks during the developer stage. So we have the ability to scan images and source code and also infrastructure as a code in the developer stage, understand the risk, and once the image or the automation will come up to the production part, to the cloud part, Orca will scan that again in order to identify those risks. So we are trying to close the loop, not just on the cloud infrastructure and production, we are trying also to close the loop for the security gap from the developer stage to the cloud production. So as I mentioned, Orca is an agentless and involved synapse solution with more and more capabilities on top of the synapse. The SideScan technique allow us to gain a full coverage on your cloud infrastructure without deploying any agent in a very quick manner. And we are providing a one-stop shop for all the security tools, combining all of the security that involved during those timelines that I present, including cloud security posture management, CSPM for misconfiguration and identity, CWPP, workload protection, anomaly reviewing and understanding the security from the developer side, CIEM to manage and control and identify risk on the identity, policy, understand the human error, and understand how the identity and the policy are being configured in the cloud itself and try to identify risk inside of that. And of course, data protection that will reveal and try to understand if you have data at risk inside of the cloud, if you're exporting data to the outside because of a misconfiguration. So Orca is a cloud security tool that combines all of the security tools in one dedicated pane of glass solution with multiple integration that help to our customers to get a full coverage on the cloud infrastructure in a matter of minutes, and in one hand, answer to all of the 4 principles that required in order to gain a complete cloud security solution that will be sufficient in our world today. So how is the patent of the SideScan is working? I will also try to, I will show that in the demo, I will demonstrate that in the demo, but just for a quick explanation, the SideScan technique is allowing us to see inside of the workload and to scan the entire environment without the need to install agent. How Orca is doing that? So once we are creating the fast onboarding, in which I will present in the demo, Orca creating inside of the cloud that being connected, the cloud account that being connected to the platform, Orca create a virtual temporary host that enter and connect to the runtime block storage and start to create snapshots and volume. Snapshots and volume are a set of files and OS information that have for each server that existing in your cloud environment. Orca is fetching the metadata from those snapshots in order to investigate malware, vulnerability, and actually to replace the agent base and read the data from the snapshot itself. In parallel, we are using a very good technique of the cloud to questionize via API, and we are questionize the entire environment via API in order to gain metadata from the cloud control plane in order to understand the identity, the misconfiguration, and the topology and the context of the cloud, and also feeding from logs that are running inside of the cloud. All of the metadata that we are collect inside of the virtual temporary host will be parsed to a JSON file, encrypt, and will move to Orca scanners that are automatically being opened in the same cloud region that your cloud is located there. And we will, from these specific data, Orca will provide a full coverage and visibility inside of your cloud account. So the SideScan, like its name, is scanning the environment from the side without interfere to the regular work of the cloud, without the need to install any agent, and to perform and perform a full 100% coverage on your cloud infrastructure. You can see that as a data source, at Orca as a data source, as a unified data model that able to collect multiple information from the cloud infrastructure in order to present all the risks that are existing in the cloud. We are collecting the information from the cloud control plan to create and to understand the topology of the cloud infrastructure, the context of the cloud infrastructure, from cloud event and cloud log, from network probes that are spread in the environment. And the main capability is the SideScan technique, in which we are using in order to scan inside of the workload without use the agent solution. So all of this data that's being calculated and collected from Orca is being monitored, and from the monitor we are extract all of the risks that we identify inside of your cloud, and we address for each risk the environment itself, so we can identify exactly if the risk is critical or not critical. And we are now going to come back to the example with the vulnerability and see how Orca is approached to this specific vulnerability. But before we will do it, just a glance of how Orca is operates. So the focus here is not just to collect all the information. The focus here is to provide you a dedicated severity, so you will know exactly which kind of alert and which kind of risk you need to mitigate first. And what Orca is doing here is to collect the entire risks that you have together with the visibility and try to combine them to a full attack flow to show you and demonstrate you how attacker from the outside can use those risks that we discover in order to penetrate to one of your critical servers. And this method can show you exactly in which risk you're supposed to focus first in order to cut the chain. So the attitude here is to find the one risk that can cut the chain in the middle, and then to reduce the alert fatigue, because you are approaching only to one or two risks that can cut the chain and can eliminate the other risks that we discover. And we can see that here in the example, and of course I will show you more examples in the demo itself. And now we are coming back again to the same slide, but now instead of agent, this is the approach of Orca. So if you remember, we had two servers, server number 1 and server number 2. Both of them, we identify a vulnerability, a very high score vulnerability, but apart from the agent, Orca, when Orca identified the risk, the vulnerability itself, it is not sufficient for the severity. Orca also tried to identify where is the server is located. We can see here that server number 1 is having an internet facing, and also it's connecting to a database with a private information. But server number 2 doesn't connect to any external resource, and also doesn't connect to any bucket that contain any personal information. This is why Orca discovered these two, this vulnerability, the same vulnerability of both of the server, but for server number 1, Orca will provide a high score of severity because they have a high risk to exploitation, and server number 2 will be only a medium. And it will be a medium because there is not a high chance of exploitation. So Orca, not just looking inside of the risk itself, also try to identify where is the asset is located on your cloud infrastructure and if there is a chance for exploitation. One of the things that is very, very important is not just to how we collect the data and how we present the data and how is our method to provide the full coverage. The second aspect is how we are researching, how we are checking those risks, how we are providing to the customer with a valid risk data that will help him to identify what are the critical risks. And for that, we have a very unique and big research pod that contain more than 20 engineers that just research. And this is an example from several vulnerabilities and risks that our research pod identify and work incorporate with the cloud provider in order to create a resolution. So our research pod, our research team, not only reviewing the regular risk, also trying to identify new vulnerability, new risk, and our customers are getting those risks and those vulnerabilities information very, very soon from our research team. And we can see here several risks that we discover with AWS, with Azure, that once it's been discovered, we will incorporate with them in order to reduce the number of, to find a resolution and find a patch to fix this specific vulnerability. This is just a glance of the key findings that we discovered during the years that we are running inside of customers in order to create some key findings of what we discover for and what is the things that are similar for most of the customer. We can see here, and I will just take two examples, that 72% from the customers, from the users that use the cloud environment, identify S3 bucket that allowed a public read access. This can be a misconfiguration issue, this can be an encryption issue, but we discovered that 72% are having this specific private information at risk. And we have also discovered that on average, organization, it takes 18 days to fix the critical risk. And this is a very, very poor result. It means that the security teams have and approaching to a critical risk in an average of 18 days. And this is also something that Orca, as a solution, try to reduce thanks to our severity, correct and accurate severity score. So enough with the talk. Let's play and see how it's actually worked in the demo and how Orca is approaching to those risks. So one moment, I will just share the demo. Okay. Okay. Okay, I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great, thank you. So I present the evaluation of the cloud security and how Orca is approached to the 4 principles of cloud security. And here we try to demonstrate how it's actually look like in a live demo. So this is the UI of Orca. In order to start working with Orca and start to protect your cloud infrastructure, we are sending the invitation and you register to the platform. And this is the first window you will see, the onboarding window, in which you will be able to start onboarding your cloud infrastructure, your cloud account. By pressing on Connect Account, it will reveal the cloud provider that we are support, and you can press and find your cloud provider, for example, AWS. So pressing on AWS will divert you to the onboarding page in which you can start onboarding your cloud infrastructure. So it's required very, very quick steps. Log into your AWS account, create and role and policy and automation in order to allow us to start scanning the environment. And the last thing is to connect the account to Orca Security by using the ARN number that provides from, in that case, AWS, and press on Connect Account. The onboarding stage, it takes around 5 minutes per account. You can also onboard your entire organization automatically, and then all the rest of the accounts will onboard to Orca together with the management account. And once you press on Connect Account, the SideScan has presented in the presentation will start to kick in and will start to scan the entire environment according to the SideScan and the API that we collect. The first thing that you will see once you connect is the visibility part. Orca will start scanning the environment and provide to you a comprehensive data of each workload that existing in your cloud environment. We're supporting today all the majority of the asset type. It can be a virtual machine, it can be serverless function, images, containers, EKS, network identity. Every type of entity in the cloud will be scanned by Orca from risk and also from visibility. and the inventory page will present to you all the information that is required. For example, if you want to check to see the asset page, the information about each asset, for example, the EC2 instance, you just need to press, and it will reveal to you all the information about the instance. And if you think about it, most of the cloud today are quite messy. You have multiple instance type, and in order to gain information from each instance to understand the risk, you need to connect directly to the instance itself, running some commands. Orca, during the scan, calculate and collect all the information and present the information, not just for risk perspective, also for visibility perspective, inside of the asset. So we can see here inside with this asset, we can see a quick description about the server itself, how the external exposure topologies look like. You can see that this server have a port 22 and security groups to the outside. More and more information and valid information about the server. We also calculate all the risks that related to this specific server. It can be a malware or vulnerability. The types are divided by according to the type of the alert. It can be vulnerabilities, sensitive information, very, very important. We can identify the sensitive information in that specific instance. We discover a social security number and 3 other sensitive data. Orca will reveal and show you exactly where is your important files, the sensitive files, the sensitive key file, the shell history. And if we will identify that this is the risk, we also create an alert from that. All the identities that are being configured to this specific server, the policy that are being configured, the login history from each login, we calculate the successful, the failed, and we also observe and detect a brute force attempt. Software inventory, and if you are working in the cloud today, you will probably find that it's very hard to identify what kind of running services and install packages are inside your cloud, your instance, and Orca is calculate and show you exactly what kind of packages and services are installed in this specific asset. And more extensive information. Apart from the information that we provide that you can review and see, we also calculate all the risk in order to combine them to an attack path to show you exactly what kind of risk you need to mitigate first and approach first. It's called the attack path. Let me grab one example from that. Let's take this. So this is the example for an attack path that Orca combined, and this is from day one of the scan. You will be able to start to see the attack path. The first thing that Orca will do, Orca will provide you a score and a risk score that show you exactly what is the profitability and the impact from this specific server. If the score is close to 10, it means that it's a critical attack path that is very easy to exploit. And here we can see the full attack flow of this attack path. So if attacker from the outside will connect to this virtual machine in which we discover a vulnerability of remote code execution that allow an initial access from Mitra, it will have and gain the unsecure SSH private key. And from here, he will be able to jump to this specific server in order to assume role to be able to connect to this instance in which we discover a sensitive AWS key in the system. Now, with a regular conservative solution, once you discover a sensitive AWS key on the system, it probably will be a critical risk because it's quite critical. Here, Orca is actually show you where you need to mitigate and what you need to approach first. So if you will go and we will go to the remote code execution and we will patch this specific vulnerability, we will probably cut the chain in the middle, and the next scan will be, the score will be lower, or this will not longer, or this attack path will not longer be exist. So Orca is actually pinpoint you exactly what kind of risk you need to approach first. And everything here is clickable to give you and provide you an extensive information to how to do it. So if we will press on the vulnerabilities part, it will reveal the vulnerability page, the risk page with a quick overview together with an attack path that show you exactly where is the vulnerability is located with a timeline, when we discovered it and what happened, core breakdown that show all the parameters that we decided in order to reach to this specific score, the score of the vulnerability. And we can see that we are examining not just the vulnerability. In that case, you see we have a high vulnerability with CVS score. We also try to see where is the asset is located. And we already know that this asset is a public facing. If you want to see, you can press on the public facing. It will reveal the asset page and show you exactly where and how it's configured, the public facing. We can see the status of the machine, and we can see if it's been identified with the private information or not. All of those parameters in the end lead us to this specific score. Orca is provide a lot of other information from the vulnerability, the vulnerable package, and of course, most important part, the remediation part, in which we explain exactly what you're supposed to do in order to mitigate that. In the vulnerability part, we can see that we need to patch this specific Apache. We also have a good connection with the GPT-4 in order to give more and more information and remediation step also from GPT-4. I like to call that a second opinion. So you actually can see that from CLI, Terraform, and copy paste that to the cloud, to the asset itself. Now, this is just an example for vulnerability, but it can be also a misconfiguration, malware, etc. The structure of the alert, together with all this information, is still the same and will allow you also to see the asset itself. So apart from that, as I mentioned, one of the biggest important part is the visibility part and the severity. So we discussed about the severity and how Orca is giving the correct severity. Now let's move a bit more to the visibility part. And here Orca provide a full discovery mode that will allow you to ask any question for your cloud infrastructure and get the report. So for example, if you want to see your entire compute services that have an SSH key that is not encryption false. Once you configure the query, Orca will reveal a list of all the compute services in your cloud environment that have an unsecure SSH key. You can see the list here. Everything here is clickable and provide you more information. You can also see that as a graph view, very important and essential if you want to demonstrate the risk. Of course, we have a lot of instances. You can slice and dice the information. Everything here is clickable to provide you more information. If you want to see this asset, for example, you just need to open in the side panel and it will reveal the asset page with extensive information. You can save the visibility. You can create an alert that's based on this specific visibility. We also have a unique UI mechanism that will allow you to ask the question instead of building the query. So you can ask all VM with internet facing, and Orca will calculate this specific requirement and create the query for you. So in that case, we want to see all the virtual machine with internet facing. We have these kind of results, and we can evaluate, we can leverage the query more. For example, if I want to see just the virtual machine that have private information in a type of email addresses, so now it will reveal the virtual machine with internet facing and also with email addresses that we discover. So it's very comprehensive view in terms of visibility. As I mentioned, the point here is to approach to all the four foundation, the 100% coverage, the consumable, and also the comprehensive. And the comprehensive part is the majority of the tools that we are presenting in the platform today. So except from the visibility and the severity part, we also have several other tools that can be very, very handy. For example, the identity and access tool that will provide you a full overview on your users, group, roles, policy CIEM, as we discussed, is the additional timeline that we had. In here, you will be able to identify and monitoring your user and identity. We have a feature that's called the last adaptation, privilege that show you exactly, according to our baseline that we create, what users and identity use the granted permission. In that case, we see that we have 19 users that use more than 90%, but we also have 53 users and identities that use less than 50% from the grant permission. And the interesting part is once you're pressing those users, you can go to each role and Orca will show you exactly how the role is being configured and give you some suggestions. So for example, in this specific role, we can see that he is attached to several services, AWS services. And from the information of the identity, we can see that the policy that he have is administrator access with several other suggestions. I want to take another one to show you also the comparison that we are doing. So if we go to here, to this specific role, we can see that Orca also recommended to you what policy is supposed to be configured. So here we can see the diff between the policy and the suggested policy. So the existing policy required an action with a star, full action. And here, this is what Orca suggests to do with this specific role. The action will be just for those services. And this is based on the baseline that we create and the information that we collect from your cloud. And you can fix it directly from Orca. So managing the identity and roles, it's very handy with Orca, together, of course, with the risks that we are identifying. Apart from that, we have also a full compliance view. One of the challenges of customers that diverting into the cloud is to be able to be fitting a stand with several compliances. For that, they need to hire an audit team, an audit company that will start connecting and see that the compliance is according to the controls and you are standing in the correct compliance. With Orca, because we are providing a full 100% coverage, we can assist and monitor your compliance. So for example, if you want to see that your compliance to SOC 2, GDPR, and others, you just need to enable that, and Orca will show you from the framework what percentage of compliance. So if we will take the ISO, for example, we can see that our cloud environment in this demo is 45% compliance to ISO. And by clicking on that, it will reveal all the controllers that are failed. And every controller that is failed will be associated with Orca alerts to give you more information how you need to fix that. Now, the severity here is not so important. What important is that how you're going to be stand and compliant to your specific compliance. So Orca give you all the step-by-step that you need to do. You can share that with external auditor, and you can see the entire compliance view from your cloud infrastructure. Apart from that is the data security solution that inside of Orca and provide you a full comprehensive data about the buckets in the database that you have, the file system, where is the sensitive data is located. We can see here that we have 3 sensitive data types that are located in this specific bucket. We can see credit card number, email addresses, etc. And it helps you to understand where is the important data and if the data, the private data is exposed to the outside and at risk. If I will take one of the examples from one of the alerts, we can see here that we identify a database table with a social security number. The risk window, the risk structure is quite the same within description. And the findings here show you exactly what we discovered. So in that case, we discovered a progress database with this specific table, this specific column, and this is the mask value information that we discover. And also we provide you exactly the typology of this specific asset in which we discovered this PII inside. So it helps you to protect also your private data that mainly exposed from human errors and in other things that related to misconfiguration. So Orca is touching everything in order to identify data at risk. Last but not least is our dashboard. In the end, we also need to be very consumable, so to see that in a high level mode. And this is why we have this exclusive dashboard that will calculate and summarize the entire risk that you have in the cloud, help you to monitor and understand the risk that you have, starting with the alert, critical, high, and medium, what have been open and what been resolved, major insight. We also have from our research group, from the news, and new vulnerabilities and new risks that we discover or being discovered will be shown here with explanation, and also identify if we have this inside of our cloud infrastructure. We also have a security breakdown, very, very helpful for CISOs that want to understand the security posture score. Here, Orca is comparing you to the customers that we have in the same size and give you a score from the average score from the industry by 5 big breakdowns. So you can see here, for example, that I need to improve my vulnerable asset because it's less from the average, and also for the data security, everything here is clickable and help you to maintain the security on your cloud by fixing that and improving the score. Last but not least is the integration. In the end, we are Orca solution as much as provide the vast security tools in one and answer all of the 4 principles that we just mentioned. We also need to be very agnostic to integration, to third-party integration, to help our customer to get the data from anywhere and manage the security from anywhere that they wish and they want to do. So with Orca, we have multiple integration tools that are bundled inside of the solution, starting with an SSO, ticketing system that allow you to open a ticket to the DevOps team to understand what is the risk. Once the risk is being patched and you close the ticket, Orca automatically will rescan again this specific risk in order to see if it was solved or not. Notification, Slack, PagerDuty, email addresses. You can create your own automation that say that if we identify high risk, high or medium risk, or high or critical risk, please send me a notification, open a Jira ticket. You can automate the whole process with Orca. And of course, SIEM and SOAR solution that we can divert our data to a dedicated third-party SIEM or SOAR. We have a full integration with several tools like Datadog, Coralogic, QRadar, etc. And of course, the option to create a storage in order to save data retention with more months. So the platform is quite comprehensive, and in the end, the platform came here to answer these 4 main principles: the coverage, in which we are doing that through the side scanning in the environment, the full coverage, comprehensive, including multiple tools in one dedicated solution, and the context itself that allow you to understand what is the necessary risk that you need to approach by using the attack path that we have, or using our alert mechanism that show you exactly what kind of alerts you need to mitigate and approach first. So before I will open this discussion for question, and I believe that you probably have one, we just want to mention that today we are providing a 30 days of a cloud security assessment. Connecting Orca and connect your cloud account to Orca is a very quick and straightforward task, and it will reveal and show you exactly all of the risk according to what we saw in the demo. And we are providing a 30 days in order to you to run that inside of your cloud environment. We can help and assist you to identify all of the main risks and to walk you through the platform and to gain the necessary value from the risk assessment itself in order to see that you are fully protected. So you can feel free. I added also the link, and I will make sure to send it to you if you want and interesting to do the full risk assessment together. So thank you very much for your time. Of course, I will open that for questions and try to answer to most of them.
Awesome, thanks, Ziv. Let's see. I see there is cost a lot of money to the last one solution. So just a reminder to please put all questions in the Q&A section. I see there's one in our cost a lot of money with the several. You compare Orca to Wash, a solution.
Okay, it's a good question. So we are here to speak about technology and less about the money for now, just the value. I'm not familiar with the Wash. I just can mention that the approach of Orca to identify vulnerability and malware without installing the agent, and from my knowledge and information that I have from other open source solution, we need to distinguish between a solution that focus only on the CSPM part, on the misconfiguration part. This is a solution, and we have a lot of solutions that doing just that, to a solution that combine other risks in one specific platform. So with a CSPM solution, you will catch a dedicated portion of risks that are related to misconfiguration and human error, but you still need to approach to the other risk inside of your cloud environment. If it's a malware, vulnerability detection, private information at risk, and of course, compliances. So yes, the approach of Orca is to bring a full one-stop shop solution that in the end, to work with Orca in the subscription of Orca will be much more cheaper to acquire other multiple solution in order to cover the entire environment. So in the end, Orca will provide a full one-stop shop solution and also will help you to reduce the number of platforms, of security platforms that you're currently using today, and work only with one dedicated pane of glass solution. If you have any other questions, feel free.
I'm not seeing any at the moment. I think in the meantime, Ziv, we want to thank you for taking us through the solution and emphasizing the environments and what to look out for. And then to our attendees, thank you so much for your time this morning to listen in on our Tech Day. We really appreciate it, and we hope that you have found some value in the session today. While we are waiting for the last bit of questions, just a reminder that we will be hosting every month with a new topic for each session. So keep a lookout for our next one coming up in March. And then, yeah, let's give it a few more minutes for the last few questions to come in. Other than that, guys, again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, everyone, for your time.
is no more question. Good session today, Ziv. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day and weekend. Bye-bye.
Yes, you too. Thank you.